Hello everyone, I'm Jia En, and for today's video, I'll be walking through with you how you can use my CodeWeapon platform to assist you in your coding problems. So to get started, you just have to go to mycodeweapon.com and hit enter. Once you're in, you can just click on Start Now, which will prompt you to create an account. But for today's demo, I already have prepared a demo account to show you. And once you're logged in, you will see a problem page that is slightly different from mine where you haven't created any problems yet. So without further ado, just click new problem button and we can get started. So this will be the main UI of the page that we'll be working with. So on the top left side is where you can just upload any images of a problem you have. And for the bottom left side is where you can query your AI agent for assistance. So the right side is mainly for you to code your solutions and to check the output of your solutions. So for today's example, I'll be using a Stack and Queue tutorial from NTU to showcase our demo. So all you really have to do is just take a screenshot of that question and save it. And once that is done, you can just upload the screenshot here. So now that our screenshot is ready, we now just need to set up our AI agent if you just created your account. So you just need to go to settings, and for the API key storage option, if you don't trust me to store your API key, you can always store it in the localwise. But if you do select the cloud, just know that we do encrypt your API key before storing it in our Postgres database. So I already have a Gemini key prepared already, but if you do not have one, you can just go to aistudio.google.com and retrieve one. So despite testing so many times for my webpage, I still haven't even set up building yet. So because they have a really generous free tier. So once that is done, you can just save changes. And once your API key has been saved, you can essentially start querying the AI model already. So for this example here, in this question, I only focus on one part of the question, which is we want to implement a custom queue which has the enqueue and dequeue functions. And why we need to do that is because Python actually by default do not have an enqueue and dequeue function. So for the demo, I've actually prepared a code to speed up our demo slightly. So in this example here, what I just did is a very simple custom queue class where this is a constructor. I'm just initializing a queue which is a Python list. And then the enqueue functions is just wrapping around the list append function where you give me a value, I'll just append it. And the dequeue functions is just popping out the elements from the first index. So a first in first out order essentially. So this is just an example to show that the code is functionally correct. So here, if we enqueue a value of 1, our queue will just look like this. If we enqueue 2, it will be appended to the back and so on. So if we dequeue, because we are popping the first element, the number 1 will be popped out, which we can see here, and then the 2 will be popped out and so on. So this code is actually functionally correct already. But there's actually slight optimizations you can make to these queue functions here. And if you are a Python beginner, you may not be familiar with certain libraries that can help you. So here I'm going to include code in my context here, and I can ask Gemini whether is there a better way to implement this. So I'll just say for my custom queue class, are there better ways to implement it for this question? Or if you want, you can add your tutorial question too. And let me scroll up a little bit so you can see more of the chat here. So what it's saying is essentially that it's a good starting point, but our pop 0 here is actually a O of n time complexity, as it requires shifting all subsequent elements. But if you're not sure why is that so, you can always ask it further. And then it's suggesting us to use the collections.dequeue from Python, and it will be a lot more efficient here. So instead of copying pasting the code, let's try to implement the improvement ourselves. So from collections, import dequeue, and instead of just a Python list here, we want to use a dequeue object here, like that. And then finally, or it's just doing some checks here, but for the simplicity of our demo, we shall skip that. So I'm going to go here and pop left here. So instead of these two lines here, we replace it with the line below it, which is utilizing the dequeue object here. And if we run it, it should also give us the same output, which is 1 and 2. So both of which are functionally correct, but this is actually a slightly more efficient approach here. And you can feel free to ask it further, like why is dequeue faster, and you can actually learn very interesting things about the underlying data structure of dequeue and why is it like better for popping left and right. But for today's demo here, what else you can do to like to really reaffirm that this is truly faster? So one way you can do that, right, is, let's say here, let me remove some lines here to make our check easier. Okay, I'm going to remove this line too. So I'm going to add some pieces of code here. Then let's say here, I'm going to initialize an array of 100,000 elements here. So what I'm going to do is I'll initialize the queue with 100,000 elements, and I'm going to pop every single element out, and we'll see the time that it takes for it to execute. So I should not have printed this out, but anyways, it takes about 0.088 seconds here. So here you can record down here. The queue takes about this amount of time, and then let's say just a regular Python list. So all I need to do is just change this here to here, and then I just have to comment it, uncomment this, and let's see if the Python default list actually takes a lot longer. Yeah, so you can see that it takes about 10 times as long for the default list just to pop elements out, because of the fact that we don't have to shift all the elements. Let me see, where is it? Because of this, we do not have to shift all subsequent elements when we pop the first index out. So this is just one example of how we can utilize our time and memory functions to check the efficiency of your code. But aside from that, that's actually the end for today's demo. But other things you can do is, of course, you can time yourself while you are doing your problems, and you can also set the statuses and so on. Interesting, I have a bug here which I will have to fix. And that's all for today's video.